Hello, I'm Victoria from Biblio Lifestyle, and you're listening to the Reader's Couch podcast, the show that will help you bridge the gap between living a full and busy life to one where you're reading, learning new things, and having fun. In today's episode, I'll be sharing 5 things you should do before you set your reading goals for the new year. So if you're interested in starting a reading habit, or maybe your goal is to read more books, or maybe you want to be more intentional about your reading life in the new year, then this episode is just for you. So stay tuned. Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Reader's Couch podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Wood, and in today's episode, I'm so excited to share 5 things you should do before you set your reading goals for the new year. Now, I don't know about you, but at the end of one year, and as we're getting ready to kind of welcome a new year, I think most of us, not all, but most of us, might start with a list of things we want to do, a list of things we want to achieve, places we might want to travel to, and just overall goals that we want to set for ourselves. So whether they're personal, whether they're professional, most people kind of think about how the past year went and then, okay, what are the plans for the new year? And they start to think about what goals they need to achieve or what plans they need to make to get there. Now, as readers, one of the most important goals that many of us have is to read more books. Now, some readers might not want to read more books because I am of the view that it's not about the quantity, but actually the quality of reads, but also more importantly, just how enjoyable your reading life and your reading experience is. So regardless of what the goal is for your reading life, I think there are a few things we should do beforehand to kind of help us stick to our goals so that we can achieve them, but more importantly, so that we can have a fulfilling reading experience. Because I have to tell you, above all, I want my reading life and your reading life to be fun. I want it to be pleasurable. I don't want it to be a situation where your reading life is feeling like a chore, like it's a drag on your life, it's starting to feel like work. No, we are reading for joy, we're reading for pleasure, we're reading to learn and discover new things. And I want you to be excited when you're picking up your book. So before you set your goals so that you can achieve them, but again, above all, have an enjoyable reading experience, I think there are a few things you should do beforehand. So with that in mind, before you get started on setting your reading goals, here are 5 things I recommend that you do first. Okay, tip 1. The first thing I want you to do is to reflect on your past reading habits. So before you go off and set your reading goals for the new year, I want you to take some time to reflect on your past reading habits. I want you to think about the genres you read, the themes of the books you enjoyed, the number of books you typically read per year, and just all the different factors that encouraged you to read, that introduced you to new books. I really want you to sit and think about your reading life and what motivated you and what you enjoyed. But also pay attention to the things you didn't enjoy too. What books were you not excited to pick back up and continue on with reading? What genres didn't work for you? What themes do you want to avoid in future? I really want you to think about the good, but also reflect on the things that just didn't work for you in the past year. Because I truly feel that by really reflecting on your past reading habits, you can now gain insights into the patterns and the areas that hold potential for growth and improvement in your future reading life. And as a result, to help you achieve your future reading goals. Because when you take the time to reflect, you're also more self-aware. And with this self-awareness, it will empower you now to curate a reading list that really aligns with your interest and your aspirations, but also when you're just out and about in the wild, at a bookstore, at the library, or maybe even surfing the internet, you know right off the bat that, no, this book book is not for me, or you get super excited when you see a book that aligns with your interest. And that way, it will ensure that you have a more fulfilling and just enriching reading experience in the year ahead. So tip 1, I really want you to reflect on your past reading habits. Okay, tip 2, the second thing I want you to do before setting your reading goals for the new year is I want you to analyze your current lifestyle. Because I think another thing worth considering before you set new goals, specifically before you set new reading goals for the new year, is to analyze where you are in your current life, how much or how little has your lifestyle changed? Are you more busy at work? Do you have new things that are demanding more of your time in your personal life? Are you finding that you have limited free time nowadays? Or do you have a more relaxed calendar where you have plenty of free time and more opportunities to read? So I think it's really important to really look at your current lifestyle, because also here's another thing I've found with readers is that sometimes we look back at the past and say, oh, last year I read 100 books, or I read 50 books. Maybe 2 years ago, let's say 2 years ago. But when you're analyzing this year, you're like, all I was able to read this year was 30 books. And some readers get down on themselves because they're thinking about the days when they were able to read 50 books and now they only read 30. And that feels like a huge letdown. But actually, maybe if you took the time to look back, and I'm not saying this is, a hard and fast rule, and I'm not saying it's true for a lot of people, but I know for me personally, if I have a reading year where I'm not reading as much as I had in previous years, when I really sit down and think about it, my lifestyle has changed. My reading life was very different from when I was working a full-time job to when I was working part-time to when I was freelancing. It's going to be different if you're momming, if you're dadding, if you have a family member you're caring for, if you have more responsibilities at work, if you got a promotion. It's just there's so many different things. Oh, you could just move house. A simple thing as moving house or changing towns, whatever it might be, a change to your lifestyle can affect your reading. So before you jump on in and set your reading goals for the new year, I really want you to take a look at your current lifestyle and see how much or how little it has changed, because it really can affect your reading life. And when you have an understanding of your current lifestyle, I think that will help you to set more realistic reading goals that you can actually achieve. So if you realize you have a lot going on this year, or the year is shaping up in the new year to just have a lot more going on, maybe consider not setting such a high bar for you to reach in terms of your reading life. And for sure, don't use past experience to be the indicator to say, well, if I did this back then, I should be able to do this now. So tip 2, I want you to take some time to analyze your current lifestyle, maybe project what it might look like in the future. Okay, number 3 on my list of things I want you to do before you set your reading goals is I want you to decide on the types of book you want to read, and if possible, I want you to create a reading list. Now, I know this might work for some readers and others might think this is absolutely crazy, but just hear me out for a second. I think it's important that even though you might set a numerical goal, because I think that's the most common reading goal I see people setting out there, they'll set a goal to say, okay, I want to read 20 books, or I want to read 50 books, or I want to read 100 books. But okay, so for purposes of this example, let's just say your reading goal is to read 20 books. But where are you going to find these book recommendations? But also, what kinds of books are you interested in reading? Now, as a person who shares book recommendations on the internet, and I do very much hope that I have influenced your reading life to some degree. Maybe I introduced you to a new author or a new book. I really do hope that is the case. And even though it's something I enjoy doing, I really believe wholeheartedly that it's also important that you select some books for yourself. So what I mean by this is it's okay to visit the website and the pages of your favorite creators. I sure hope you visit bibliolifestyle.com to get some reading inspiration as well. I hope you consult the seasonal reading guides to get ideas as well. We have a reading guide, spring, summer, fall, winter. So I hope you're consulting these resources. But at the same time, I want you to dig deeper and ask yourself, what books do you really want to read? Maybe there's an author on your list that you really want to dive more into their works. So, for example, I'm currently in the middle of rereading some and reading some books for the first time of Kafka, because I do want to curate in the new year a where to start reading Kafka guide. And I wanted to revisit some of the books I was familiar with, but there are also books that I'm reading for the first time. But the truth is, Kafka is an author I've been wanting to read for the longest time. So with that said, that's a reading goal in itself. So maybe for you, you might want to read Jane Austen or Stephen King or Charles Dickens or Toni Morrison or James Baldwin. If there's an author out there whose books you want to read, you might not want to read the complete works like I do, but maybe there's that one book that you're saying, I want to read Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, or you've been meaning to read Jane Eyre for the longest time. Whatever it might be, I want you to make a list of those books that you in your gut have wanted to read for the longest time, or the authors whose works you've wanted to read for a long time, and then spend some time looking into things. If you're not so clear on an author specifically that you'd like to read, or maybe a book from your high school or college list that you've been meaning to read or wanting to read for the longest time, I want you to seek out recommendations from people in your real life. Take a trip down to your local library, maybe stopping in at your bookseller if it's something that you want to purchase. I think it's worth seeking out those books on your own, and that you should just make that list of books that you want and that you found on your own, with obviously the help of maybe a librarian, a bookseller, or a content creator like myself who shares recommendations to you. So I want you to make some independent decisions based on the things that you really want to do. And just keep that list close at hand when you're setting your goals, but also when you're seeking out a book and trying to decide what to read next. Because at the end of the day, I think that by having this list, it will help you achieve your reading goals and read the books that truly matter to you. So tip 3, I want you to decide on the types of books you want to read, and I want you to create a reading list. Okay, tip 4, number 4 on my list of things I want you to do before you set your reading goals for the new year is I want you to set realistic and achievable goals. So, after you've reflected on your reading habits, you've analyzed your lifestyle, and you've made a list of books that you really want to read, I want you to now use all this information to help you set realistic and achievable goals. Because while I think it's great to have a super ambitious reading goal, I think it's more important to set achievable ones. Again, I want you to have an enjoyable reading experience. I don't want you to be stressed. I don't want you to be disappointed. So I want you to consider a few things, such as maybe your reading speed. Are you a reader who reads really fast, or are you a reader who's more on the slower side? Again, consider your lifestyle. What does your work calendar or personal calendar look like? And also think about personal preferences on how you like to read. Are you more of a print book? How fast or how slow do you read print books or audiobooks? Is having an e-reader more convenient to you? I want you to consider all these factors when you're deciding how many books you want to read and what kind of books you want to read. And also, I think it's worth saying that by setting achievable goals, it will help to keep you motivated, and the odds of you feeling overwhelmed or discouraged are a lot less. So don't put pressure on yourselves to be overly ambitious. And I mean, look, ambition is good. I for sure incredibly ambitious. But again, when it comes to our reading lives, it should be one of the most enjoyable things. So let's skip the overwhelm. Let's skip feeling discouraged. And I want us to set something realistic and achievable. Okay, tip 5, number 5, the last thing on my list that I'm recommending you do before you set your reading goals is I want you to consider joining a book club or a reading community. Now, if you're listening to this podcast, it's fair to say you are a part of the Reader's Couch family. I am so grateful that you're here, and I hope that you're inspired or you get introduced to new books here that you can consider including as a part of your reading life and as a part of your reading goals going forward in the new year. But I also want you to maybe open up the thought of maybe joining an in-person book club. If an in-person book club is not for you because of your personal life or work life, or just maybe personal preferences, then consider joining an online reading community, because having a supportive and like-minded group of people that you can discuss books with is incredibly helpful. Plus, it's a great way to get introduced to new books and new genres that maybe you have not discovered on your own. I truly believe book clubs and reading communities are incredibly invaluable. And I'm going to take this opportunity to make a shameless plug and invite you to join the Biblio Lifestyle community and the Bring Your Own Book Club. So BYOB Club, Bring Your Own Book. Now, this is a members only space where we connect over our love for books, we share recommendations, but we're also doing other things in the community as well. And I have to tell you, we have some exciting things planned for the new year, from doing vision board workshops to crafting projects, journaling challenges, plus so much more. We have lots of fun things planned for the Biblio Lifestyle community in the new year. Now, as a part of the community, we have the Bring Your Own Book Club. And this is a book club where you can bring any book you're reading to our monthly meetings and tell us all about it. So no assigned reading here. This is a book club where you can read the books that you want. And again, just come to our meetings, tell us all about it. And if you don't have a book for a particular month, that's okay. Because look, reading slumps happen to the best of us. Sometimes we have a lot going on for that particular month. But I still think you can show up, have a good time, and discover some new books and maybe get inspired to pick something up after one of our meetings. So visit bibliolifestyle.com/community, or you can just go straight to bibliolifestyle.com and select community from the menu options. And I really hope to see you there. It's going to be a fun year ahead. I really can't wait. And I'd love to see you there. I'd love to get to know you more. And come to our once a month book club. It really is a good time. It really is. Alrighty, readers, there you have it. The 5 things that I recommend you do before you set your reading goals. So, quick recap. Number 1, I want you to reflect on your past reading habits and your reading life over the past year. Tip 2, I want you to analyze your current lifestyle and, maybe project what next year might look like if you have more or less that you're doing in the coming year. Tip 3, I want you to decide on the types of books you want to read and create a reading list just for yourself. Because again, while I love sharing book recommendations, and there are so many different places out there online and in real life where you can get recommendations, I really think it's important that you have a list of your own. Tip 4, I want you to set realistic and achievable goals. So after you've considered all the factors above, set something realistic, set something achievable so it can help you stay motivated and avoid feeling overwhelmed or discouraged. And tip 5, highly recommend that you join a book club or a reading community. And I really hope that you'll consider joining the Biblio Lifestyle community and the Bring Your Own Book Club in the new year. Again, we have wonderful workshops planned planned. We're going to be doing fun activities monthly, crafting, journaling, vision boarding. And again, we also have our monthly book club. So we'll be doing lots this year, and we have fun challenges along the way. Alrighty, readers, that's it. And here's to another year filled with great books and to us achieving our reading goals. As always, thanks for being here, thanks for listening, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you again soon. Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening to the Reader's Couch podcast. Please subscribe to the show, share it with a friend, and take a few seconds to leave a rating and review. Until next time, stay lounging, stay reading, and whenever you're in doubt, go straight to your local bookstore or library. Thanks again for listening, and happy reading.